Welcome, everybody. This is a bit of a new thing I would like to try for the Old Hat Review. Every month I cover news stories from exactly 100 years ago, and going through those newspapers looking for those stories, I would often see film reviews for some by now classic silent movies. And it occurred to me that the movies being released at the same time as those news stories are just as much a part of that world as the stories that I was covering. So, Hollywood at the time in the 1920s was still growing into what we know it as today, and I thought watching some of these movies could be another fun way to explore that time. So consider this a trial run now, but if it goes well and I like it, I'll try my best to keep it going. I'm planning to watch a movie every month to complement the news videos that I put out. And tonight, we're going to watch The Black Pirate, which premiered in New York City on March 8th, 1926. So this is essentially The Black Pirate 100th birthday, give or take. I found a couple contemporary film reviews from 1926 that could be fun to compare notes with at the end, too. This is, of course, much less scripted than my news videos, though I do have a page here with some interesting facts and context I might refer to as we go. And as I'm sure you can hear, I'm using my real-life everyday voice without the cheesy filter and the fast, silly little accent I like to put on for my other videos. If you would prefer to see this movie without my commentary, it is a silent movie after all, I provided a link in the description below where you can watch it for free online without me providing commentary over the whole thing. So an important note before we start, and consider this a content warning, this film was made in 1926 and reflects the attitudes and assumptions of 1926, particularly in how it portrays some non-European characters. I don't feel the need to point it out every time it appears on screen. You'll see it for yourself, but be warned. It's wrong now, it was wrong then, but it's part of the film, so we're not going to gloss over it. And on a more cheerful note, what you're about to watch is genuinely one of the most ambitious films of the era. There's a reason it's in the National Film Registry. And lastly, one advantage that we have now over the original audiences of this film is prohibition is no longer in effect in the United States. I'm going to enjoy an adult beverage as I watch this movie. And if you care to do so as well, I might recommend a thematically appropriate Dark and Stormy, a rather piratey drink of dark rum, ginger beer, and lime juice to keep the scurvy away, of course. Of course. I think you're going to enjoy this movie. This is my first time watching it, too, so we're going to dive into this together. And, without further ado, here we go. This is The Black Pirate. Douglas Fairbanks was one of the biggest movie stars on the planet at the time. And I believe doing this film in color, and yes, this film is in Technicolor, was a push from Fairbanks. He was growing disappointed with all of the black and white movies at the time and wanted to do a big swashbuckling action film in Technicolor, which was, of course, fantastically expensive to make at the time. I am no expert on film and how to produce it, but I believe each roll of film, it was shot on 3 different colors, each roll of film had to be processed separately, so it's essentially 3 times as expensive as regular black and white film. So the budget of this film at the time was enormous. It was, the figure I found, $847,000, which in 1926 is, of course, a tremendous amount. The players. A page from the history and lives of the most bloodthirsty pirate who ever infested the southern seas. Being an account of buccaneers and the Spanish Main, the Jolly Roger, golden galleons, bleached skulls, buried treasure, the plank, dirks and cutlasses, scuttled ships, marooning, desperate deeds, desperate men, and even, on this dark soil, romance. I'm not going to read all these title cards. You got eyes. I just thought it was fun, and all the various fonts and random capitalization they're using here kind of inspired me. Okay, one more. It was the custom of these pirates to subdue their prey, loot the ship, bind their captives, and blow them up. Okay, that's the last title card I'm gonna read, I promise. And you can tell he's a pirate because he's holding a dagger in his mouth. How else might you know? Yeah, you gotta tie him to the mast. Look at that guy grabbing the rope around his neck. Excellent facial acting there. Look at the giant hole in the side of this ship. These sets are massive. Clearly those boats in the front are floating on actual water. I just love the scale of these old movies. And of course, you know, there was no other option to practical effects. Some genuine feats of athleticism going on here, climbing up the side of the ship on those ropes. Looking at my notes here, I misled you a little bit on the Technicolor. I believe this was a 2-strip Technicolor process, capturing only red and green, so no blue at all. The sky and the ocean were colored later, so not 3 times as expensive, twice as expensive, but still expensive nonetheless. You know, this just makes you go back and think how many of these classic pirate tropes are far older than you think. I mean, the trail of black powder going to, you know, act as a fuse to a grand explosion. You saw that on Looney Tunes growing up, on all those cartoons. On the drum roll with the actual drum on screen is a nice touch. I lost my train of thought there. Yeah, the keg of black powder. As a fuse, drawing a circle around the men, just rubbing it in their face there. So many of these pirate tropes are, of course, not accurate to how how pirates behaved in the time. But a much older product of Hollywood than I would have thought. Actual pyrotechnics on set, that's never safe. The ship itself is rocking. I don't think that's an actual ship they used. I think it's an actual made set, a stage they're on. So I wonder if there's some mechanism that's rocking the ship itself. That's very cool. Oh, come on. Here it is. Oh, I thought that far shot was going to be the ship blowing up. Oh, there's too many heroes on the ship right now for it to blow up. Nope, it's going to blow up. Oh, no. I stand corrected. Those guys are dead now. The framing of this shot is so cool, with all of them clambering over the side of the ship and the Jolly Roger hanging up top on the mizzen mast there. Okay, so this ship's rocking back and forth too. I'm almost certain they didn't use an actual ship for any of the ships featured in this. It was a production stage. So I'm wondering how it's moving. Okay, the sole survivors. People did survive the explosion. That makes me feel a little bit better. Being a little cavalier about their ship blowing up. Dividing the loot. By the way, if you're hearing some snorting and grunting from my microphone, it's not me, I promise. It's not me. I'm well right now. My dog is asleep on the couch next to me, and sometimes she snores a little bit. She fell asleep on top of me as I was doing some research for this, and as I moved into the recording session, I didn't have the heart to move her off my lap, because she's wearing a little pink sweater right now, because it's still quite cold where I live, and my dear dog, Coco's her name, just looks far too adorable in that pink sweater to wake her up. So you're going to hear her snoring on this microphone. Avast! That's a nice shot of those lots there. I like this little jaunty violin music we got going on in the background. Alright, who gets the monkey? Well, it was already on his shoulder. So I think that's a good match. Oh, is that a guy with a parrot on his shoulder? There's another classic pirate trope. It is a guy with a parrot on his shoulder, and that's a real bird. I think the monkey was real, too. Always a bit of a gamble having live animals on set, especially when you're throwing people around like that. Waving knives and guns around, too. All right, he's strong. You don't become a world-famous movie star for nothing. Without spoken dialogue, this goes, without saying, but without spoken dialogue, the physical acting takes so much more of a forward role in portraying these characters, and you see it on the faces of everyone in this movie, everyone in all the movies from the silent era. The extreme ends of emotion portrayed, and though that's not how people actually are in every single day, with every single emotion they feel, man, it's evocative. Like that scowl. Look at that scowl there. Something that I don't know, I'm going to ask it out loud. I wonder if these actors spoke their lines to each other on set, as if the camera had a microphone that could hear them. I'm sure they must have, so they could coordinate and act a bit more authentically. It looks like they're talking. That'd be a bit silly if they were just mouthing words to each other, or even worse, just speaking gibberish. They must speak their lines to each other, you think? I think so. I think I've talked myself into that. And this is the Tom Hanks section of the movie. No volleyball, though. Did they ever establish a compelling need for these pirates to bury the treasure? I mean, I know that's the piratey thing to do, is you bury the treasure and you find a map and you mark 200 paces this way and you put a big X on the map so you can dig it up later, but their ship's in good shape. It's not like they're going into port desperate for repairs, or there's enemies around that might try to pillage their ship. They came away pretty much unscathed. Why don't they just take the treasure with them and, go into Nassau in the Bahamas or wherever this is taking place and have themselves a lovely night out on the town? I mean, they already divvied up the treasure among themselves. Oh, is that a post hole digger on this guy's leg? They're not making him dig with his peg leg, right? I am very much a sucker for slapstick. Oh, that's as good a spot as any to start digging. That's a lot of work to carve solemnly into a piece of driftwood. If I'm working with such a space-limited medium, I might err on the side of concision. Burying it underwater? Or are they just going in a cave? That's... Oh, okay, they're going in a cave. I was going to say, if you drop the treasure chest underwater and you leave it there, first of all, it's gonna tarnish all your silver and gold in there, and secondly, sands shift, it's gonna be buried forever. That's a terrible place to bury it. Underwater cave, I stand corrected. That's much smarter. Well, if you can't talk out loud, carving it into wood is the best next way to the next best way to get a thought out of your head. Dead men tell no tales. That phrase is older than Pirates of the Caribbean 2, I suppose. Okay, so you see a bunch of very clearly pirates on this deserted island that you've been alone on for quite a while now. After your ship was attacked by pirates. In fact, you might even recognize some of them. They're all holding weapons, and it looks like they're tending to some very important business. Do you go up to them and try to flag them down? I suppose if it's your only way off the island, but man, that is bolder than I myself would be. Look him over. Qualifications. Another classic gag, looking down the line, look to the person next to you, they look to the person next to them, they look to the person next to them. A blade in each hand. A blade in each hand. All right, well, they're on at least equal footing in terms of, well, hands. This is rather intense fight choreography. It's not, not like two men doing a ballet or very gentlemanly fencing like you might expect to see in movies like this. This is there's anger and so some real intensity behind it, and of course bravado. Oh, I love how into it the rest of the crew are getting. Yeah, got a referee in there, make sure everyone in the audience is playing fair. When are they going to start taking bets? Come on, they're pirates. One of them's going to start taking bets. Oh, that was cool how he bent the sword and just grabs another one. I like this fight choreography here. Oh, perhaps setting a trap? Yeah. Oh, clever. Clever. But also, I thought this was going to be a fight till one of them yields. But no, he's just going to go and kill that guy, presumably the captain. And the rest of the crew is totally okay with it. He did seem to be a rather unpleasant boss to work under, so I don't blame them. No, I haven't had bosses like that. I was gonna make a joke, but most of the people I've worked for in this life have been pretty nice. At least if I saw them cut to ribbons in a sword fight, I might have pity on them. There's a little bit more of that pirate bravado. Take a ship single-handedly. Just after dawn, a merchantman. Single-handed. That is a tall, unstable-looking ship. So if our leading man here is so confident in his pirating ability as to take an entire merchantman single-handedly, why did it take him this long to turn to a life of piracy? I mean, clearly the guy's got a talent for it. And clearly, ethics and morality aren't holding him back because he's doing it anyway. Unless he's throwing all that aside for revenge. That's a pretty gorgeous model. I do like that a lot. I have to wonder how large it is in real life. Yeah, throw a fish at him. So all of these impressive feats of athleticism, Douglas Fairbanks is actually doing in real life himself. And he trained obsessively for. From what I found on, and I'll admit my sources come from a lot of Wikipedia and IMDb, as well as a couple contemporary articles I read. But a lot of the pirate crew are professional athletes. They come from the sports world. So a lot of the impressive feats of athleticism you see in this movie are, well, they're genuine. There was, let me see if I can find it in my notes here, an Olympic swimmer, Johnny Weissmuller, who would go on to play Tarzan in 1930, trained with Fairbanks for the swimming sequences of this scene. But yeah, come on, climbing that rope there. That's a very ornate looking merchantman there. Not that they weren't, but this one particularly so. Now, this is the famous scene here. Yes, using the knife to slow your descent as you fall down the sails, slicing them in half. That's probably the most famous scene from this movie. That is, like I said, I've never seen this movie before. The scene that I do, in fact, recognize and copied 100 times over in every pirate movie after this. I seem to recall Mythbusters doing an episode about that, digging way back into the filing cabinet in the back of my brain. I used to watch a lot of Mythbusters growing up, and I seem to remember them doing an episode about falling down a sail and slowing your descent with a knife like that. And gosh, I don't remember the outcome. I don't remember if it's actually possible or not. From what I found online, it says there's actually still debate about whether it was genuine, or if he used a stuntman. The sail itself was pre-cut. There he goes again. The sail was pre-cut, and the knife was attached to a rope with a counterweight. So he's not actually slicing the sail, but whether he did it himself or not is the debate. Now there's a shot right there with the double cannons pointed at the deck. So he had offered to take a ship single-handedly before he knew there was one on the horizon. Just kind of said, whichever one comes across our bow first. Don't worry, guys, I got it, just me. So there's no way he could have planned ahead of time, knowing they would have those dually mounted cannons. That's some good fortune he came across there. I don't see how else he would have subdued that entire crew if it weren't for having two cannons that could be swiveled around and pointed at the deck. Oh, there's another shot. All the other pirates in the sails waving their swords. The customary tactics. As I remember from the opening title cards of this movie, I believe the customary tactic is blow 'em up. Pirates, come on. Take the ship. Why would you bother offloading everything? That ship is so much bigger than yours. It's got cannons. It's a lovely looking vessel. Take the ship. You can even keep yours too. That's how the real life pirates would do it. Oh, this set is gorgeous. So much verticality to it, too. They did not bother with the small scale, and I love it. There's such a sense of grandeur, man. It makes the whole thing, dare I say, swashbuckling. Well, I suppose it's good to test something out before you buy it. That dagger strapped to Fairbanks' arm is a cool look. I'm not saying people should bring back daggers strapped to their arms, but I mean, come on. Look how tough he looks. Yeah, I don't like the look on his face. I don't like the ideas that were just forming in this guy's brain. They did warn us ahead of time this movie would include some romance. Oh, it's Powder Keg Guy again. But romance in terms of pirates can get iffy. All right, are you going to talk them out of their vicious behavior? Gonna let the crew live? Huh? Turn a new cheek? A new lease on life? Find some morality? That's how I'm going to assemble my friends in real life now. And gather around me, ye who love gold. I just love all these extras. All of their outfits and costumes. Okay, so is he going to propose they take the ship? I would be amazed if this idea didn't come to any of them before this, and this is the first they're ever hearing of taking the ship rather than blow it up, although Powder Keg Guy, he was already going to town with that powder keg. If they do want to take the ship, they better, sweep that away. Hose down the deck, get it a little wet so it's not going to blow up anyway. Yes, I'm sure these pirates are going to act perfectly gentlemanly to this lady here. There we go, yes. Take the ship and hold it. You don't even need to keep it. You can sell it. There's people out there looking for ships. In fact, I'm sure there's a company that just lost a ship, like this one, that would surely like it back. Oh, and then take it back. Okay, this guy's got a plan one level further than the plan that I was making there. There is sense in what he's telling you. Aha. I see how this scene was set up earlier in the movie. You're pondering this for a long time, dude. Not terribly difficult to figure out what's going on and what the intentions of these guys might be. If you're gonna step in, I might recommend you do it soon. And this guy's still going on. I like him. I think that guy in the red jacket might be my favorite character in the movie. Yeah, nodding in agreement. Yeah. So this actress here is Billy Dove, and she's a bit more toward the middle of her career right now, and I found it a bit interesting. She started acting in the early 20s and moved to Hollywood and changed her name, I believe, and it is most well known for The Black Pirate, as far as I can tell. Did a handful of other movies. It looked to be reasonably successful, and continued on acting into the early 1930s. And in that time, had a romance with Howard Hughes, the guy from The Aviator. I mean, The Aviator's based on him. He was a real-life person. Inventor, pilot, movie star himself. But they were engaged, and it didn't work out. I believe she ended it and married a guy with a lot of oil money and wealth, and retired from acting after that. So I mean, hey, if you can get it, good for you. Oh yeah, go ahead and make the new guy the leader. You've known him for less than 24 hours now. I believe the card said the very next morning they spotted the merchant man. So this is still the next morning. Yeah, they've known this guy for less than 24 hours. He did get them a ship. That's one good reason too, but still. You just met this guy. He was marooned on an island where you guys just took a ship. Perhaps, and I'm just spitballing here, perhaps he's sworn to revenge. And that was a cute little quote of Blow the Man Down from the horn section in the soundtrack. I haven't commented too much on the soundtrack. I am thoroughly enjoying it. I come from a musical background myself, and I haven't played in an orchestra in a while, but I do really, really miss it. There's another Blow the Man Down quote from the horns. Oh, the pirates are going into contract law now. We subscribe this with our own hands. Hey, if you've made it this far into the movie, shameless plug, how about you subscribe to me with your own hands? There's a button somewhere on your screen if you're watching on a phone, somewhere on the phone. You know the deal. I'm not going to beg you for that. But if you're enjoying this, I do plan to make some more. I'm having a good time right now. Perhaps the Dark and Stormy's helping with that. Is that Powder Keg Guy? Yeah, you give Powder Keg Guy a reason to use that keg of powder. Also, that was a cool looking snake tattoo, I think it was, on his face. I only caught a quick glimpse of it. But yeah, Powder Keg Guy, he's gonna blow that all to hell. You know, honestly, the Black Pirate, perhaps the more responsible choice to elect as your pirate leader. But, you know, if you're in it for the fun, Powder Keg Guy, he could be a fun person to follow into battle. Once. That's a light cannon they're hoisting up there. Yeah, I thought those things were supposed to be pretty heavy. Cannon and a guy swinging from it. That is a beautiful ship. I've said it 100 times now, but man, it still remains true. Oh, a speaking horn. Cool. People don't use speaking horns enough nowadays. I stand by that. And there's Powder Keg Guy. I love that they established his main character trait earlier on in this film. Everyone's got to have motivation, you know? So how did they all just start calling her the princess? I may have been talking if they explained that. Because it's just a merchantman. She's just a passenger, or maybe like the captain's wife or something. Did they establish that she is actually princess? It was in quotations there on that letter when they're gonna send her ashore. There is no honor among thieves. The random capitalization and italics and font changes, I find it to be pretty effective, honestly. I'm not going to drag it too much. I really like that as a choice they keep making throughout this movie. Okay, so they're on a ship, right? And that's a sundial, right? And the sundial works by casting a shadow from the sun over numbers on the dial. You know, like we've all seen sundials before, but the big thing about sundials is they're always like a big giant rock in the middle of a park or a courtyard or something. A thing that does not move and is calibrated to its exact location in the world, its orientation and its latitude and all that. A sundial on a ship's not going to work, right? The ship's moving, the ship's rotating, it's rocking back and forth, it's constantly changing its location around the globe. There's no way you could ever read a sundial on a ship. Not to nitpick, but come on. Scummy. She looks so wistful. It's those exaggerated facial expressions I was talking about earlier. Just wonderfully dramatic. I'm happy to buy into it. Now, I myself have spent considerable amount of time at sea on ships, and I can attest to the fact that a change in the meal plan, something other than the regularly scheduled chicken and rice or whatever it happens to be that day, just anything new is so wildly welcome. I would grab my trumpet and blow it too, and I don't even play trumpet, but yeah, some actual nice home-cooked food, especially if it's from a fancy merchantman you just captured. That's gotta really hit. That's gotta really hit the spot. Oh, don't get so sentimental on me now. And that is the exact look that the redcoat guy is giving there. Don't get so sentimental on me, man. I vouched for you to be our captain. He's going soft. Was that a note, or was he, being generous and tipping the waiter there? Certainly passing a note. Though in my headcanon, that is pretty funny to imagine. Only 20%? Yeah, 20% is a pretty good tip. I'd give Red Shirt Guy more. And there's a more complete quote of Blow the Man Down in the soundtrack there. Set your plans to follow mine, but does not elaborate further on his own plans. Ma'am, I'm afraid you're just gonna have to improvise. An affliction of the heart. We've all been there. She is so wistful. That is some A+ wistfulness. The slight eyebrow raise. Outstanding. Outstanding portrayal of wistfulness. That's a lot of kegs of powder for Powder Keg Guy here. So the evil pirate, the pirate that was more evil than the rest of them, because they are pirates, but the antagonist pirate paid this guy to blow up the ransom ship so it doesn't return, so the black pirate fails his part of the deal, and it isn't upheld. Does this guy have a way to get back? I mean, I'm sure there's a lifeboat or some dinghy or something, but you can't row that far and find a ship after it's gone over the horizon. I'm not sure this guy's really thought out his escape plan very thoroughly. All for a little sack of coins the other guy gave him. Dude, you do not have to make the trail of black powder this long. You can just make a long fuse in that one room, light it, and then scurry off the ship. You don't need the trail of powder to go the entire length of the ship itself. But who am I to tell Powder Keg Guy how to do his job? He's clearly got more experience in the field than I do. So it did work. His plan, it worked. He did, in fact, blow up that other ship. Yeah, I was kind of rooting for the ring guy, the guy, the former captain of the Merchantman. And I thought they were setting up some sort of confrontation there. Him lying in his bunk. Maybe he's gonna wake up after the ignited powder keg trail goes by. Nah, they just blew him up. Perhaps conventions of modern cinema have set my expectations for certain plot points to happen. Dude, you just met her. I mean, Valiant, of course. But man, you just met her. The score is starting to get a little bit more ominous now. A pirate who has found his treasure. With such limited availability of these dialogue cards, they really make good use of it. Well, what was that first one that I really liked? All of ye who value gold, gather round me. Afflictions of the heart. I love that kind of stuff. You're not planning on throwing Red Jacket guy under the bus, are you? Okay, I would have been upset. He's very heroically saving the life of Red Jacket guy. I should look up the actual names of these characters. I'm sure they have them. In the beginning of the movie, there was a list of the players. What aside from the Black Pirate and the Princess, I don't think any of them have had their names anywhere on screen. This base and scurvy traitor, guilty of the foulest treason. Should have had it dark and stormy. That lime juice, you gotta get some citrus. Keeps your teeth from falling out. This is all very, friends, pirates, countrymen, lend me your ears. The lighting, for being a scene that clearly takes place at night, I have to imagine was pretty tricky to pull off. To get it to actually look good. There we go. Yeah, Princess, I feel the relief too. I mean, he's the title character. They're not going to kill him off that easily. Oh, did I read that vote wrong? When they all held their swords in the air, that was for when he lives. Wasn't it? Evidently not. Oh no, I totally misinterpreted that vote. I thought all the other pirates were entirely on his side. No, turns out they are, well, traitorous scum. Pirates. Should have seen that coming. So has anyone yet noticed the absence of Powder Keg Guy? They haven't done a roll call or a head count or anything of the sort. They're holding a trial. You're going to want to make sure everyone's there so everyone's vote counts. Not that Powder Keg Guy would have voted to save him. There we go, Red Jacket Guy. There we go. Save his life as he saved yours. Like I said, that's got to be my favorite character in the movie. I'm gonna look up his name. He deserves to be called something other than Red Jacket Guy. MacTavish. I mean, he's dressed as a Scotsman, and that's the only vaguely Scottish name I see in this character list. Also, fourth build, Donald Crisp, who has a rather impressive filmography himself. MacTavish. Did anyone bother to check to see if the Black Pirate can swim? I mean, the valiant rescue and everything, and cutting the ropes that bind his hands, very clever. Not going to do a whole lot of good if he can't swim. I mean, of course he can. This is the scene that I mentioned earlier where Douglas Fairbanks trained with a Olympic swimmer to prepare for this. So obviously we have some more swashbuckling coming up in this final act of the movie here. But it sure would suck to go through all that effort to rescue your friend only to find out that the guy sinks like a stone. McTavish isn't much of the consoling type now, is he? Still, as gentle a soul as they come on pirate ships. Yeah, lay down the law, McTavish. So they're less than a one-day sail away from shore, because they picked him up on the island, and then found the merchantman the very next day. But still, it didn't seem to be within sight of any island anywhere. The guy must have swam. Well, he was trained by an Olympic swimmer, but still must have swam a while. Were there always horses on that island? Because that's not a terribly bad place to be marooned if there's horses in a hut and what looks to be like a little bit of a farm. Yeah, that'll keep you awake. Oh my gosh, McTavish. Be careful. Those things are sharp, you know. You know, I do find this rather charming. The noonday of the tomorrow. With the sundial on the moving ship, I suppose it's got a compass on it, so you can orient the ship the right way. But still, I can't let that slide. I wonder what that design is on the sail. Which should be ripped in half right now, right? Although I suppose they can carry spare sets of sails on these ships. That might be the responsible thing to do. I don't know how they did it in the Age of Sail, but since it's the Age of Sail, might as well double down on that. Oh, have some faith. Have some faith, princess. They really need some alternative forms of recreation on this ship if, the most interesting thing going on is sitting there watching a sundial. Like, get some other classic pirate hobbies going on. Play some liar's dice or something. Sing a sea shanty. Scrub the poop deck. Because that is the equivalent of watching paint dry. Also, I think I just saw that. I think I just saw the sundial move, which only goes to further my point that it must be wildly inaccurate. So that's got to be a fictional country flag I saw flying at the top there, meaning it's a fictional country on the sails there. Oh no, it is torn down the middle. Good job with the continuity there. People who were in charge of props. But I didn't, see, the sundial moved again. I didn't recognize the flag at the top of the mast. Yeah, I said have faith, princess, but now might be the time to despair. Buy some time, McTavish. Buy some time. Oh, he's still moving. Oh, no. Hold still. Oh, McTavish, no, hold still. Okay, so that very clearly is an actual boat they made, not just a sound stage in Hollywood. I don't know where these guys came from or where this galley came from, but it sure is convenient. The ransom ship blew up with the note that he gave the other guy asking the governor to send men. So that note never got out. The black pirate must have taken that horse he stole and rode all the way to the nearest city. I'm not sure where this is supposed to take place. We didn't have ships like that in the New World, to the best of my knowledge, during the Golden Age of piracy. I mean, that looks a whole lot more like the Mediterranean in the time of, the ancient Greeks. with their battering rams and the faces painted on the front of their triremes and all that. But I am just splitting hairs here. That was a great shot. What a shot with the cannon. Okay, so this is all about tricks between the Black Pirate and his antagonists. They're always talking about, I've got a trick for this, I've got a trick for that, I'm going to show you a trick you've never seen before. Hold on, crew, I've got another trick for this. They seem to really pride themselves in their tricks. And clearly the marksmanship of the pirate crew is not as good as the marksmanship of the galley crew. Oh, that's a cool shot. So is it really more advantageous to cower below decks in an open deck? Very clearly. Oh, are they scuttling the ship? They are scuttling the ship. I was gonna say, why don't they just use those many oars they have and make themselves a moving target rather than be sitting ducks? But still, scuttling your ship, sending it to the bottom, and swimming to the other ship just can't be a more efficient option than using all of your oars and rowing up to the other ship. Well, now, this is a wonderful scene here. I do think I found some information on how this one was filmed. Because I hate to break it to you, this is a little bit of Hollywood movie magic. They are not actually filming underwater. Yes, the scene of the soldiers swimming underwater in formation. It was filmed upside down and on dry land, of course, on a painted set. And they were all suspended by piano wire. Some of the creativity it took to pull off these stunts and some of these scenes is really admirable. You know, they didn't have any way to, animate it with CGI or green screen or anything like that. Any effect they wanted to produce had to be produced in real life, or at least using a trick. Maybe that's why they're so obsessed with tricks in this movie. the 5 or 6 guys just waggling their swords at him. Again, I like these soldiers. I'm glad they're here. It's very fortunate that the Black Pirate was able to track them down. But man, could they not have just rowed their galley up behind the ship? You have the more maneuverable vessel. Why do you not use it to your advantage? Ooh, that was a brutal shot there. Ragdolling all the way down. I love the way that guy squints with one eye when he shoots a pistol. Oh, there's a cool shot too. Yeah. Oh, and they jump in after them. Okay. I simply cannot agree with any of the tactics these soldiers are using. Unless they prefer to be in the water for some reason, but why would they? You got a great line, practically a phalanx, and you sword fight and you force your opponents in a row all over the edge. You have now won the sword fight. You've won. They're off the ship. You don't need to jump in the water after them. In fact, they probably can't swim. I do love the music playing here right now. This is some wonderful, light-hearted dance music. Or not dance music, fight music. For the dog pile on these guys. It's just a human meat wave. They're throwing themselves at these other pirates. I admire the gung-ho attitude they have towards fighting and how willing they are to put themselves in the line of danger. But man, these soldiers. This is another really cool shot. I liked that. These soldiers are idiots. I really do have to say. The governor. Okay, so the governor did in fact get word. Governor, I have bad news about the men in your employ as sailors and soldiers. They are idiots. Effective idiots. But still, nonetheless. Okay, so she is a princess. Now this is the classic storyline of, oh, we all suddenly find out that this guy is royalty, therefore he can marry the princess. Yep, there it is. Oh, Coco's waking up. Hey, girl. Have you been enjoying the movie, Coco? No, you've been asleep. The Duke of Arnaldo. Oh, well, gosh, I wonder if there's a sea captain handy who might be able to marry them on this ship. Oh, that would make a wonderful wedding gift. Excellent idea, McTavish. Now that's not the entire crew's share of that treasure, right? That was just the captain that the Duke murdered? Well, it wasn't a murder, it was a duel, but still. I think that was just the captain's share of the treasure. Wow, she even hugs wistfully. Look at that embrace. Yeah, McTavish, get some shut-eye. You must be tired. Go to sleep. Nah, dude, you're fine. You're welcome to go to sleep now. I do love this recurring bit, though. That is quite the model they have there. And now, sailing off into the sunset. The end. Copyright 1926. So, I thought that was a lovely picture. I am myself no professional film critic or anything like that. I am coming from a layman's perspective here, but I thought that whole thing was wildly charming and very, well, I've used this word before, but I'll use it again, swashbuckling, being a pirate adventure and all. Like I was talking about, there's so many tropes that I thought were more recent inventions about pirates that seem to go back, well, at least 100 years now, probably more. But it's so almost Disney-ified now that you see a movie about pirates and yeah, someone's going to stab the sail and fall down, and someone's going to make a trail of the black powder, and there's going to be a parrot on the shoulder, and they're going to, get a treasure map, put an X on it, and bury the treasure on an island, which I suppose some of that probably happened in real life, but it's amazing how codified it is as, just shorthand for pirate language, portraying it on screen. So, I would love to know what all of you thought of that movie. I'd love to have a discussion down in the comments. I'll respond to as many of them as I can. But I did find an article. I'll see if I can put it up on the screen now. A contemporary article from March of 1996 that covered a review of the movie, but also the premiere itself. And the premiere was in New York City. The stars themselves, Doug and Mary, arrived in a long Rolls Royce to the theater. And it was so crowded, more so than other movies that had premiered in that area, that I can't find the quote right now, but I'll paraphrase. They said the police were there to prevent a riot, and the police did not succeed, or the police lost. So apparently there were a lot of very excited movie-going fans at the premiere. It must have been quite the spectacle to see. Gosh, I wonder what it must have been like to be at a movie premiere in 1926. And I wonder if it was with live orchestra. It must have been at the live movie premiere. So the film critic that wrote this article had seen previous Technicolor films before and does not like them. It's strange to think that at the time when color was just starting to come into being in Hollywood, that it was not embraced by everyone. You would think a more accurate portrayal of the world we live in, going from black and white to color, would be applauded by at least most people. But the critic says it is tiring to the eye and confusing to the senses due to the violent reds and oranges and yellows. And I suppose if you're not used to it, it can be quite an affront to the senses. But To my eye, having seen, modern day movies my entire life, the colors in this are quite muted. And I believe this was an intentional choice. I was reading a lot of the stylistic choices for the sets and the costumes and the things that might have colors that pop were inspired by the works of Rembrandt, which is rather, highbrow, hoity-toity arts talk. But all goes to say they wanted a more subdued, mellow, kind of muted color scheme because the director wasn't fully on board with shooting this in color. It was not the first, but one of the first movies ever shot in Technicolor. So yes, even the director, which, hold on, let me give you his name, Albert Parker, wasn't fully on board with having it shot in color. It was kind of on the insistence of Fairbanks himself. So the review goes on to say it praises the movie for being a grand picture, another legitimate triumph for a star who has earned the world's esteem, and notes that Fairbanks is somewhat grimmer and more serious than usual, but still incredibly agile. Agile is something I would certainly agree with. Although grimmer and more serious, I have to admit, I haven't seen other Fairbanks films, but he was sporting a smile for most of his time on screen, a knowing I'm in charge of this situation kind of smile. The bravado and charm that a high-level movie star of his stature might bring. But anyway, that is all that I had planned for today. This was, for me, a pretty fun evening of watching a movie I've never seen before. I don't even often dive into silent movies in general, so I'm learning a whole lot about this as I go through the series. I'll take a listen to this and, as I'm editing, decide if I want to do more or not. But I hope you enjoyed. Again, this is the Old Hat Review. I think I'm going to call this the Old Hat Revue Reviews because I do love some good wordplay. My name's Andrew, and thanks for watching.